Hello friends, it is my favorite time of the month, when we learn what's been going on behind the scenes in Star Citizen. I'm Space Tomato and this is your October monthly report. Thank you for coming to my Tomato Talk. And thanks to my newest Patreon supporters, Aloran and Reese. The AI content team was happy to see 3 of their AI behaviors that we've been reading about revealed to the public: the artifact vendor, the worker, and some of the security. These were nice to see in the gameplay demo that I covered a couple weeks ago, and will be joined by several other behaviors likely whenever the servers can handle it. AI Features spent some time in October working on the responsiveness of some of the behaviors in the PU, such as in combat. AI Tech continued their work on planetary navigation generation. This breakthrough work will soon allow AI to navigate on and around planetary surfaces in the game, greatly expanding the areas in which we can see, interact with, and find NPCs, including fauna. The team extended the code used in this generation to factor in the signals that certain controllers send to the AI. For example, a locked door can now inform the AI that it is locked, prompting the character to find a different approach. Ship AI saw improved combat capabilities across the board, specifically focusing on the way AI use missiles in combat and target prioritization. Last month, the animation team worked on the behaviors that we've seen in previous months that showed up in the AI section we just covered: the nurse, the vendor, the bartender, the security guard, and cowering NPCs. Editing was also done on several female assets for Alpha 315. Development continued on the Shubin mining gadget, which will be an attachable that can change the properties of a rock to factor into the mining game loop, adding more depth to the profession, but not exactly in the way that I wish they were. Work also continued on the facial animations for all the existing body animations, and lines for various characters. Significant time was put into updating the DNA archetype heads that will improve the overall quality of the game characters. This has thus been added to the roadmap for a release in December of this year. In the US, the ship art team continued polishing the Crusader Ares ships, along with several new paints. The Drake Vulture reached the final art phase, with likely plenty of work left to go on the engineering side of things until its currently scheduled and extremely volatile release next summer. One of those unannounced ships that we've possibly seen in a recent trailer continued through its UI and lighting pass, while starting its damage pass. And another ship received some final tints and bug fixes. In the UK, 3 ships moved through final stages of the art pipeline, while the Banu Merchantman, Star Citizen whale stalwart that it is, progressed through the white box phase. The upcoming MISC hulls continued through development, with the A preparing for white box review and the C preparing for gray box review. So to review, we have 5 unannounced ships in various late stages of the ship art pipeline, 2 other known ships going through their final art phases, and 3 of the oldest concepts in the game in active development. Things aren't looking bad for ships, but, well, when are they ever? This is actually a lot of ship activity compared to the last year or so that we've had. But that's not what we're here to talk about. The weapon art team also worked on the Hercules Size 3 bombs, the ship tractor beam asset, the mining gadget, the proximity mine, and the laser trip mine. The audio team prepared for the final stage of their new software implementation and worked with composer Pedro Camacho on the songs and sounds of Pyro. Given the various ways he's managed to diversify the feel of the different planets, there's no doubt the experiences in Pyro will not fail in that regard. For those unfamiliar, here's a quick overview of his work. Mm-mm-mm. In the engine department, an interesting bit of information mentions quantum travel boosting versus regular quantum traveling. This is meant to detect collisions while traveling at quantum speeds, but I found the reference pretty interesting. We puzzled over it on Twitter for a bit while I continued to type this report out. In the rendering department, we saw good progress. I would love to tell you about it, but I don't understand. And my brain still hurts from the last Gen 12 renderer talk. If you missed that one last week, it uses some fancy animations to help inform you of how Star Citizen will see some optimizations through the new renderer being installed next year. For atmosphere and cloud rendering, all recent improvements were merged into 3.15 for the players. These changes have been described in the recent monthly reports, which will provide plenty of detail. They focus on cloud shadows, lighting, and better GPU performance through the use of lower resolution ray marchers. This should hopefully improve performance around Crusader and other planets when they start to see planetary clouds. Throughout October, the features team improved the new inventory and actor status features in the PTU phase of 3.15. This was very well done, and while the work isn't complete, it has greatly improved the experience of the personal inventory. The US gameplay team started working on the new item selling kiosk that has been tentatively scheduled for April of 2022. Design documents have also been finalized for the cargo refactor, which began to see work. This will be a massive shakeup to the game and something we will be talking about a lot in the next couple of months. A huge fix for 30Ks was released as well, which works as promised. Upon crashing in a 30K, which is the failure of a server, your ship will spawn back with everything included. This is a huge boost to cargo gameplay and a massive step towards a more enjoyable play environment for everybody. The vehicle features team focused on a significant rework of the gravlev handling. Reportedly, the tech saw a breakthrough in implementation, which has led to a significant improvement of the handling of hovercrafts in the game. I hope the improvements actually translate into the game, unlike the last time we heard about this. The development of jump points also continued, figuring out some edge cases for the game logic. And the team looked into improvements for the transit system regarding its relationship with server meshing. The reporting on this sounds like a larger focus will be taken on efficient and easy to use transit systems. Hopefully the 400 Eyes elevator is a sign of the efficiency to come. Improvements to water volumes continued as Planet Tech prepares for rivers and basins. The focus was on figuring out how to simulate volumetric lighting under the surface. If you know me in deep bodies of opaque water, you'll know this feature won't ever be relevant for me. Work also started on the material system that will allow for a multitude of shaders to be used in development, and technical design work was completed for the damage maps used for salvage. The lighting team finished up their work on the upcoming IAE event. This event will include a huge free fly period in which anybody can play the game. Make a free account down below and jump in on November 19th if you'd like to try it out. A look dev pass also started on the Pyro system to figure out the proper lighting for the new abandoned space stations players will be exploring. Plenty of tasks and polish passes were completed on the current game as well. For the first time, a locations section has been included with the Star Citizen monthly report. Let's see what it has to offer. The Montreal team put the final touches on Area 18's hospital, which will be released in December. Other hospitals progressed, with 12 different clinics being added to rest stops alongside New Babbage and Orison hospitals. Lorville's hospital is receiving work and is planned for April. Another key feature with this team are derelict ships V1. We've been stuck with the Tier 0 implementation of this feature for years now, and while we've seen what I assume is Tier 2 or 3 derelicts in the past, we've never made much progress on the feature. This new Phase 4 of Star Citizen development seems to be approaching these aspects with renewed vigor. So we will be seeing Drake Caterpillar derelicts scattered around planetside locations with pieces of loot to find, puzzles to solve, and AI to combat. Hopefully these new iterations on derelict ships deliver more engaging gameplay for explorers, and hopefully soon salvagers. The ships are being placed around the system right now for implementation in December. The SST team wrapped up some ongoing work on the economy, tools, and AI simulation, and are progressing on a new mercantile-focused, unannounced feature. Work also progressed on NPC spawning and tracking, which continues towards its first major internal milestone. October saw the tech animation team complete the very long-term task of upgrading the head creation and animation pipeline. Quote, "We have written major parts of the DNA system used to create our in-game actors. Coupled with this, we have added support for creating and editing these head assets in Maya through a plugin that shares the same codebase and a huge amount of tooling to use it efficiently. This has allowed us to move beyond our current gene pool limits and set our eyes on the future." Now, human, alien, and animal face rigs will work with the DNA system to create new characters as well. The UI team progressed with UI for the upcoming refueling feature and mining gadget, both scheduled for December, and both being significant additions to 2 gameplay loops. The ASOP terminals, which are used to call your ships, have been converted to building blocks, and updated door controls have been added to the latest ships. Vehicle Tech worked on various new and existing features for 315, including landing gear, radar and scanning, repair, and door control panels. These door control panels will soon be used to create the tools that will allow players to control the environment on space stations and in ships. The VFX team worked on several new ships, including a pass on the bombs to bring them up to T0 quality and work on the Crusader Ares and their weapons. And finally, planetary ground storm effects were rebalanced due to the new lighting model. This was a fairly light monthly report, with much of the activity taken up by CitizenCon 315 Polish and the upcoming IAE. The teams are quite busy. Though we got a few key updates on some exciting features due for the end of this year and on into next year, including key developments in one existing game loop and the entire introduction of another game loop by the end of the year. These are the additions that players have been asking for, and I hope to keep you updated on how they progress even after they're implemented in December. As always, you can subscribe here for more of these monthly reports and feature deep dives on Star Citizen, and of course plenty of other content. And if you'd like to help support what I'm doing, you can support our family over on Patreon for as low as $1 a month. I hope you learned something in this video, and I'll catch you in the next. A thanks to my top supporters TK, Ken Garcia, Valiant 15, The Alpaca, Holston Coop, The Huntress, Dasek, Guilty Conscious, Extreme Tuber 7, El Gordo, Jarzi, Jin, Bilal Eliasem, Brian Peterson, and a special thanks to my newest top supporter, That Aussie Guy.